Hello, I'm Matt Guff from thehouse.com. This is a pair of Burton Diode EST bindings, and this is a pair of XBase EST bindings. I'm going to show you their similarities and their differences. Both bindings are meant for high-end riding. They have a lot of response. They're for intermediate to advanced level free riders that like cruising the whole mountain. Now, the Diode is said to be focused on more control and response, whereas the XBase is focused on being lightweight. But I'd have to say that the XBase is quite a bit more responsive than the Diode. Now, there's basically two similarities, and that's it. The first is that, well, they're both EST-style bindings. They have mounting hardware that's on the lateral and medial side, not underneath your foot, that allows the board to flex more naturally when your binding's on it. The other similarity is the double take buckles. Burton introduced the double take, I believe, 2 seasons ago now. They have helical teeth that guide the buckle over the ladder and horizontal teeth that keep the buckle locked in place. Those are the only two similarities. Now, the Highback, the straps, the footbed, and the base plates are completely different, even though a lot of people think that these are really similar bindings. Now, the base plate of the Diode is a dual componentry. It's a carbon fiber nylon composite. There's 2 zones, an upper and a lower. The upper zone can move independently of the lower because of the hinge system that gives the board or the binding a little bit more rebound. Now, the base plate of the XBase is the same material. It's a carbon fiber nylon composite, but it's single componentry. And that's the reason that I feel that these bindings feel a little bit more responsive when you put it on a board, you rip and groomers. Now, there's also the Highbacks. The XBase, as you see, is quite a bit higher. It's also a little bit wider, and it's carbon fiber composite. The Diode has a different componentry to it. This is a polycarbonate. It also has a little locking heel cup pad on the inside. It doesn't really seem like padding, but it actually kind of cups your boot so it doesn't slide around in that heel pocket. It also has a forward lean adjustment. Now, the XBase's forward lean, well, there's no dial. There's no forward lean dial at all. The only way you can control the angle of your Highback is by the pivot point located at the bottom in the base plate area. That's it. And that's one reason they want to keep it lightweight. They could do it with not having a forward lean adjustment. And then there is the straps. Now, the ankle straps on both are called, they're hammock straps. They're mold injected. They basically have 2 components to it. They have a spine and then kind of a softer cushioning, even though it's not foam cushioning. They have no seams, so it's not going to ever fall apart. The only difference is, well, this is a symmetrical style. It's wide on both sections and then thinner in the center, whereas the XBase's hammock strap is an asymmetrical shaping. So on the lateral side, there's less support close to your toes. On the medial side, there's more support towards your toes. If you want to, you can take this strap and flip it with the other binding so you can have like opposite support if you want to. Now, is there that big of a difference between the feel of the hammock straps on both the bindings? I really wouldn't say there is. They feel about the same. Now, then there's the toe strap. The Diode has the brand new Super Grip. It's, again, mold injected. There's no seams, there's no padding to it. It molds around any style of boot out there. The only downside, you can't wear it on top of your boot. You can only wear it on the front of your toes. Now, the XBase, I'm really surprised that it actually has the lightweight Get a Grip cap strap. Now, it's fine, of course, but I really thought that Burton was going to put the Super Grip on it. Now, this does have a little bit of seaming to it, and again, you can only wear it on the front of your toes. You can't wear it across the top of your boot. And then there's the cushioning. The cushioning is vastly different. Now, because these are EST bindings, there's basically nothing that separates you, your sole of your boot from your board. Now, the XBase has a thin bed, and as you see, it's very, very thin. So if you're a jumper or a freestyle rider, you're definitely going to want to stay away from this binding because there's basically no cushioning underneath your foot. But if you love how your board feels, you love feeling the snow, I really don't think there's another binding in the marketplace that gives you as much board feel as the XBase does. Another thing to know is that the XBase, like kind of angle positioning is you can't really, there's no like dial, there's no like little thing that shows you where your angles are except for the small little indentations that are on the thin bed. So if you are very, very nerdy when it comes to your angles. You may not get the exact angle that you want because it's kind of hard. It's not really hard to read, but it's hard to like gauge that this is the exact angle that you want your binding set at. Whereas the diode has the spring bed. Now, the spring bed is pretty unique because the bed is actually kind of lifted off of the board or the base of the binding by these little pillars. You can't really see them, but it kind of acts like a trampoline. That's what Burton says. It acts like a trampoline, sort of absorbs a little bit more shock. And I can understand that, but you don't really feel it that much because when your board flexes, the sides kind of like move out just a little bit, and that spring bed kind of just acts independently like suspension. There's another nice thing about it is that there's like a full perimeter of this EVA padding, gives a little bit more cushioning. And as you see, there's a brand new updated like angle dial, so you can like kind of hone in your exact angles. A little bit different than the XBase. That is basically it. There's a lot of differences. Both again are for that more high-end style freerider. The diodes again focus a little bit more on control, whereas XBase is supposed to be uber lightweight. But again, I still say that the XBase is a little bit more responsive because of the single component base plate. It's a mouthful. They're awesome bindings. You can't go wrong with either. Yeah, check them out at thehouse.com. This is the Burton Diode EST, and this is the Burton XBase EST.